Hello and welcome to the latest business chat with me, Glenys Chatterley from EBN, which stands for Effective Business Network. What I thought I'd talk about today is my rule number 3. These were 3 rules that I set myself when I first became self-employed and didn't really know what I was going to be doing. So I thought what I needed to start with were the parameters that I would work within, because when you work for other people, you work within their parameters, and I wanted to have the advantage of setting my own parameters. So if you've watched any of these before, you'll know that I've covered rule number 1 and rule number 2. So here we go with rule number 3. So rule number 3 is that I will never work full-time and permanently for anybody ever again. Self-employment suits me. I like being self-employed. And as my beloved said, when I first decided to become self-employed, you've never really done bosses well. So it meant that I knew that whatever was going to happen, I was never going to go back into the situation where I was working for somebody else, and more importantly, perhaps working full time for somebody else. Now, that doesn't mean that in the interim, I haven't worked for other people, but I've set it within these parameters. So when I first became self-employed, I made a list of all the things that I was good at and the skills I had. And I also made a much longer list of the things I wasn't good at, or I didn't have the skills. I'd never been taught them. And one of these, as an example, was cold calling. So what I did was I went to a company who took people on a temporary ad hoc basis to do cold calling. And what I was doing cold calling about was organising for photographers to go and photograph pubs. So I joined the team. I stayed 4 months, might have been 3 and a bit, but 4 months. And when I became the top of the board for how we were all doing, I said, that's it, I'm leaving now. Now I was working a few hours every week. I could cancel the contract anytime I wanted. They could cancel the contract anytime they wanted, and I wasn't tied in. So that fitted with my parameters of never working full-time and permanently for anybody ever again. And it also meant that, given that I knew I wasn't going to go back to being full-time employed by somebody, that it meant that I had the freedom to say, well, okay, I'm perhaps not going to be self-employed, but I could do several jobs, temporary, part-time, whatever you are, out there. I could do them as well. But self-employment, actually, I discovered very quickly, suited me. So the question I would ask you is, when you became self-employed, did you set yourself any such parameters? If you're thinking of becoming self-employed, what would your parameters be? And it's worked for me. And the plus of being self-employed is you can do whatever it is you want to do and ignore what anybody else ever says. Sometimes including the good advice that people give. But that's it for now. Please watch this to the end, because we don't want to mess with the algorithms. And if you could comment, subscribe, like, tell your friends, and come back next week, because next week I'll have a special guest with me who will be talking about who knows what on our business chat. Thank you for your time.